Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. You guys know what time it is. Time to talk about current events in the online fitness community, and today I thought I would cover a video that I came across. Just came right there through my feed, no one awared me of it, and it was by the Buff Dudes, and they did a 45-day keto experiment. And a reminder for those of you who like these type of videos, please remember to click like down below. If you aren't subscribed, click that subscribe button and hit that little bell to ring my bell, baby. So, over to the point. I don't discuss nutrition a lot these days because I don't get peeled, so therefore a lot of people don't care about what I say about nutrition, and I care a lot more about training programming. But for those who aren't aware, I've pretty much been on keto this entire year. I follow a ketogenic diet. I'm not doing it to cut weight because right now, I'm actually around 1 to 2 pounds heavier than when I started keto. But people have definitely noticed I train hard, train with a lot of training volume these days as a power lifter, that they've noticed that I've recompositioned. And in fact, a lot of people have noted for me, they're like, you've gotten quite a bit leaner since you've been doing this, because I train in running shorts on camera every day with no shirt and everything, 4 days a week. And so people thought I was cutting, but I actually haven't. It's just been recomposition. Strength gain, recomposition, all of that, while pretty much staying at the same body weight. And so for me, I have a personal interest in keto, while admitting it is not for everyone. There are plenty of benefits to it, but it's certainly not for everyone. So I thought it was interesting that a couple of guys like them who have a lot of followers decided to do an experiment on it, and I thought I would give my thoughts. What I thought was really funny is for me, as someone who used to do it years ago, I pushed away from it. Came back around to it because I realized I'm leaner when I do it. I gain muscle and strength just fine on this eating method. A lot of people can't. For me, it's never been an issue. And when I say keto, I'm not even doing a CKD. I don't really carb up. Occasionally, I have a big carb meal once every couple of months. But I don't do the weekend carb ups. But it's something that people can consider who need that in their diet. And I've noticed that people like Louis Villasar over at Keto Gains, he pretty much just runs it year round. He finds he doesn't necessarily need the carb ups either. That guy stays really lean, actually. He has no trouble gaining a decent amount of muscle. And I do know quite a few powerlifting champions who are big on this method. So people in my sport, it's more common than you guys would think, because powerlifting has kind of gone a different direction. It is no longer what people think of oftentimes as the fat powerlifter. The fat powerlifters don't win. Fat powerlifters don't win. Other than in the super heavyweights, the unlimited weight classes, everybody else is lean. Everybody who's winning is lean. It's a lean person sport. And that's the direction it has largely evolved to. So I thought it was interesting, and some of the stuff that they did, I did kind of laugh because I think they gave it an honest go. I'm going to give them props for that. They did make a lot of classic noob mistakes. People say, what do you mean? I see any mention of salts, right? And I can tell you right now, when a guy's saying I'm looking flat, start going through my workouts, that is someone who's not salt loading. So straight up front, the lack of salts. And one of the guys, the guy who enjoyed it more, and I always forget their names. I think his name is Brandon. I apologize. I forget their names. I'm bad with people's names in general. I remember faces, not names. But I believe his name is Brandon. He said he started increasing his protein later. And yeah, that's true. People who lift and athletes, what you find is that the classic keto macros that are used medically for medical ketosis aren't necessary to sustain ketosis for usually lifters and athletes. We can run a lot more protein. Like I eat 300 grams of protein a day, right? A lot of people say, that's not keto, that's more than 25% or whatever. Well, I eat a lot of calories. I don't go under 3,500 calories either. I'm not in a calorie deficit, but I eat a large amount of protein, even though more than half of my calories come from fat. I run less than 5% carb calories, though. I eat almost no carbs. So come over to the point, though. The higher protein is actually necessary for lifters. I wouldn't recommend someone who is an actual lifter, who cares about muscle mass, retaining muscle, or trying to recomposition at all. Don't ever go under 1 gram per pound of body weight, and I might recommend a lot of you push it higher than that. I know some guys who do ultra high calorie keto year round, guys who stay really lean, leaner than me, quite a bit lean, a lot leaner than me, who eat like 400 or 500 grams of protein every day on a keto diet. But these guys, it's usually like 50% of their calories are coming from protein, the other half from fat, and they just don't eat carbs other than a few vegetables. But that's a big one. The butter, throwing butter on everything, that's a noob mistake. And again, the same sort of thing you see with that. The medical doctors who look at this and talk to their clients and look at blood work, usually the people who have the worst blood work on keto are the ones who put butter on everything. They do the bulletproof coffee. They put butter on everything. That's what gets you, right? People who put heavy cream in everything, those are the people who usually have the elevated LDL cholesterol. So we talk about the risks of keto, that way too high LDL cholesterol, what you're worried about. Most people, in my experience, who have that problem, it's too much butter on everything. Right? Get your fats from whole foods. Now, the other thing they kind of did was a big issue you can run into is the nuts, like peanut butter. Peanut butter is a problem. Like too much peanut butter will push you over on calories too easy, to push you over on carbs too easy. If you're going to do nuts at all, I always say go with the really, really ketogenic nuts, pecans, macadamia nuts, Brazil nuts, right? Those are your staples if you're going to do nuts at all. I have weeks where I do lots of nuts and I'll buy whole bags of pecans. I have months where I don't eat a single nut. So usually what I'm going to tell guys, if you're going to do this sort of approach, kind of go in that direction of meat. Meat and green vegetables, those are your staples. Most of your carbs should be coming from green vegetables, large amounts of meat, and then full fat dairy behind that. So people are like, well, what do you eat, Jason? And my food would get boring. I eat meat all day. I eat like 2 pounds of meat every day. I don't season it, I just cook my meat. I eat beef, I eat tons of chicken thighs, some chicken wings if I want bone-in stuff. I oven bake a lot of thighs. Like it's nothing for me to just go throw 2 or 3 pounds of chicken thighs in the oven and that's half my food for the day. A lot of broccoli, right? Asparagus, spinach. And then outside of that, I just fill everything in with dairy. I eat a lot of eggs. I put cheese on my eggs sometimes. I do a lot of mozzarella cheese. I like mozzarella. And sometimes if care for just a little more carbs, I'll do full fat Greek yogurt, sometimes lower fat Greek yogurt. I do whey protein, right? That's what I eat. That's what I eat. And so what I say to a lot of guys though, get that protein up. All right, get the protein up. Let's focus on nuts because again, the problem you run into is that you end up getting too much fat, too much carbs if you're not careful to run this method effectively. And you can very easily let your protein numbers drop too low unless you're filling it back in with really lean protein sources. And some of those, again, you end up sometimes accidentally eating 50 or 100 grams of carbs, which isn't always ideal for this method, depending on what you're doing. So as part of the issues they run into early on is trying to get the snacks, the treats in instead of just saying, man, I'm going to try to push it down on steak, eggs, and vegetables, right? That would actually be where most people, I would say, really would be the good way to start, right? Try eating 3 pounds of fattier meat, like, again, steak, dozen eggs every day, and then load up on the veggies. That actually is a great way to go into it, but the salts is a big deal. And that's something that everyone who does this long term, everyone who trains, sodium and magnesium are essential. And I'm not a big fan of people buying the pre-made salt mixes. I put sea salt, pink Himalayan sea salt on everything I cook. Everything I cook just gets salted. I use a magnesium powder supplement. I usually take it in the morning, first thing in the morning. I usually take a little tiny quarter of a teaspoon or half a teaspoon of magnesium citrate just to make sure I'm getting enough magnesium, because magnesium can be an issue. It's one of your big ones if you're not careful of. Occasionally some potassium-based no salt on some stuff if I'm worried about potassium, but I salt everything. Like all my meat, all my eggs, all that stuff gets salt. Because that's the reason you lose fullness. And usually when people talk about they lost a bunch of weight early on, the water weight, it's not from the carb depletion. It's usually the aldosterone shifts and you're dropping sodium and potassium and magnesium out. You're urinating it out and therefore you're losing weight. You shouldn't be losing weight other than fat weight on keto if your sodium is high enough. So that would be the thing that I would recommend different. If these guys ran a different go ahead and they gave it another try, I would recommend they look more into just starting straight up front on a bit higher protein. You'll hold on to muscle better. Get your electrolytes in. Get all those sodium in, the magnesium in, potassium in. If you get those things in, you won't drop the water weight. And the sodium pre-workout, a big deal for your training. Your training will be dramatically better if you salt before you train. I mean, and I'm talking up to 2 grams of sodium before you get under the barbell. It helps massively. Helps massively. The other thing that I would point out, a big problem, like one of the guys who mentioned that he felt like he lost muscle also, don't do intermittent fasting as a lifter. I know it's popular for people to combine intermittent fasting with keto. Do not fast while you're doing keto. All right, any benefits you think you're going to get from fasting, you're going to get from ketosis already. What you are risking is losing muscle mass, right? Because I don't recommend people lose weight quickly for any reason. I'm not a fan of rapid weight loss. I don't think it's a good idea unless it's medically told to you to do by a doctor. Even guys who want to get leaner, why are you trying to lose 2 pounds of fat a week? That's stupid. Just my opinion. Lose it slowly. But the fasting combined with keto will cost you muscle if you're not careful. You want to have generally amino acids available most of the time. 3 or 4 nice big beatings of protein spread out through the day is usually a pretty good idea. I'm not saying on your off days from training, a little fasting in the morning is a bad thing. I do that a lot of times. Wait a few hours maybe to eat on a non-training day. It's probably okay. Days you are going to train doing this stuff like intermittent fasting or doing a 1 meal a day, if you are actually serious about holding on to your muscle tissue or making any gains, this is a very bad idea on this approach. So that's one thing I might push them in the direction of they could have done different. But all things considered, in spite of some of the noob mistakes, I felt like they gave it an honest go. They gave their own real opinions on it. I'd love to see them revisit it and adjust those things in the future. Maybe make sure that they sodium load. Maybe cut out some of the peanut butter. Keep the protein a little bit higher. And see if they have a different opinion of it after that. Because some of them they felt, well, it's not really sustainable for them, but a lot of us find it perfectly sustainable. That's a very individual thing. Depends on the person. I personally find it pretty sustainable. Don't really have an issue with it. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.